Hey everybody, it's Jasmine, your brow expert. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today's gonna be a very special video because the client is very special, at least she was to me. She was very appreciative in what I was able to do for her because she wanted to learn how to fill in her eyebrows. She has gone through chemo and now is on recovery. So she's on the road to recovery and she wanted to fill in her eyebrows while her hair grows back. She may not have it all coming back, but now at least she has the tools to learn how to do that. And it's still going to look like it's drawn in and a little artificial, but now at least she has some sort of background, and that's really what I want you to also get from this video. So, and if you're interested in the products, make sure you tap the screen. I think you could just tap the screen and you get the products popping up right there. But I will be writing all of the products, and you know what, including my makeup, because some of you guys have asked me, what do you wear on your lips or your cheek color? So although this is not what the page is about, it's really about brow shaping and brow, just all different brow shapes. That's what I have devoted this page or this whole thing on is that. But I thought it's worth mentioning, right? And so I will tag that as well. But just so you know, some of you guys may be new here. Thank you, welcome. I still shape brows, so come and get your brows shaped at the Anastasia Beverly Hills salon. And so I have an old brow tattoo. I probably will mention this on every video. Excuse me if I sound repetitive for those of you that have been so loyal. But so it's a good thing now. I'm 57, so it doesn't really matter anymore. I'm able to just try to draw the brows as close as possible to the model. So I have that concealer over the brow tattoo. And so the color will be very different and sometimes a little off, as you're seeing me right now. With me through the whole video because I know you'll get something out of it throughout the whole video. So here's a beautiful model. She's got great skin, but clearly she doesn't have much eyebrow, if at all. You could actually see a little bit of hair here and there, right? And as you can see, and this is a really good example of uneven eyebrows without even hair. Because I tell my clients, you know, you don't sometimes, yes, when we over tweeze, that creates unevenness. Our muscles, one side we always favor a little higher, and we always have that favorite side because of the way the muscles, bone, and brow lay. Okay, but this is a really good example in seeing that the brows, also the brow bone is very uneven. I tell that to my clients all the time, so it's not just you. So if you can see the eyebrow where the hair just starts from middle to the end, that brow bone is a little higher, and then the other brow that's a little lower, and you can see that the hair is a little lower. That brow bone is actually a little lower. So that just makes it even that much more uneven. So just know that even though you make the brows look perfect or try to, you're always going to still have that kind of uneven look. Okay, so just a little heads up on there, so it's not all you. Okay, so here's the first measurement. Because I'm going to use a stencil and powder, you need to measure and mark the brows first to align with the stencil. I'll get more into the stencil in just a second. So let's make that mark at the beginning or front of the eyebrows first. I'm going to use dark colors on myself, and on her, I will list them down below, but you can also tap the screen, I believe, and all the products show up for your purchase, which helps me. Okay, so the front of the eyebrows, pinch of the nose. I always say pinch, which is right over here at the inside of the, here's a bridge, right? And then it's in the outside pinch right here. So what I like to do is go straight up and down, 90-degree angle. I'm going to do both sides of the eyebrow on me, but on her, it's just going to be mainly on that side where she doesn't have any hair up in the front. So right over here, 90-degree angle. This is where the front should lay, right here. And like I said, I'll do the both sides of my eyebrow. So I always like to make a little bit of a mark, but not too dark, but enough to where I can see where the mark is, right? So, and you know what? That actually helps you in filling them in. So I always tell people to just kind of do like a ½ an inch or maybe even an inch, depending on how full you want your brows to look. Okay, so now we're going to the middle of the eyebrow, which is the arch, which is the favorite part of most people, right? Because we all want that high arch. Well, I want a straight high arch because my eyelids are very different. And actually she's Asian, so her eyelids is very similar to mine. Okay, so here's the arch. Pinch again of the nose, corner of that pupil, and then outside corner right here. That is your arch. And let me do the other side. pinch of the nose, corner of the pupil. When I say corner, I mean like slightly outside that pupil. Now, keep in mind, like I said, my brows have been tattooed, right? So I have that concealer. So just don't look at the color, look at the application, the technique, because it's all about the technique. It's all about the shape. At least it is for me, and that's why I'm here. That's why you're on this. Because, you know, we could always do beautiful makeup, beautiful brows with great products, but shaping is the trickiest, right? So the arch is right at the middle, right? And now we're doing the end of the eyebrow. Actually, on her end of the eyebrow, though, I just did right now, her hair actually lands right where it needs to. And I told her that, I'm like, you know, you got that hair right where it's supposed to be, so you're good there. But nevertheless, make that mark, which is this time the side of the nose, right over here at the corner of the eye. That is how long the brow should be. You shouldn't go past that, but you can actually go shorter than that. And I'll tell you why in just a second. Again, am I looking straight here? Okay, so right over here, you know, doing eyebrows sometimes is a little bit more difficult than just showing you how to do makeup, which, I mean, that's not what I do, but if I were to teach, that would be easier because you're just doing this. Here, it's got to be measured and you got to be in a right angle so you can see what I'm doing. Because I could tell right now this is not as angled as the other side, which, you know, hey, you get the point. So the petite arch, I am using the Anastasia Beverly Hills, which, by the way, all the products are by Anastasia Beverly Hills. You guys know that, and because I work with her, so, and I know that the products are really good. Why petite arch? We got 5 different styles. I have touched on stenciling in my previous videos, but today's going to be a little bit more detailed as to why I'm choosing this particular size arch. So this one is a petite arch. I also have like the full arch for those of you that have full eyebrows, but there's holes everywhere and you're not quite sure how to still fill them in. Use the full arch. Now the full arch, the ends are really long. These are guides. It's not a perfect science, but I always say to my clients, the front and the middle where the arches is the most important area where you line up. So keep that in mind. I'm going to say that a lot. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Excuse me for that. And then you got the petite arch, which is, you know, really similar to like the slim arches, because the petite arches, if your like eyebrow is really short or your eyes are real small, this is a really good stencil to use, especially when your eyes are small, your face is small, especially if you have a very narrow face. And so there's not a lot of room here. Go for the petite arch. But if you want a full petite, you would just use the front part of that full area and maybe, I don't know, use both, the end for this. Anyway, there you go. That one is the full. Then you got the slim, which I mentioned earlier. The slim is very much like if you got long eyebrows or you want long eyebrows, but you have very skinny eyebrows and you just want it tiny bit fuller. You don't want to go too crazy. Slim is your best bet. And then, of course, you got the medium arch, which is probably the most common or the most universal. I'm going to actually use medium arch on myself because I like a fuller arch and I have a little bit of background tattoo there, right? So I need something that's going to go in and around the tattoo. I can't have something too skinny. You got the tattoo on the outside. That obviously isn't going to work, but she doesn't have any hair up in the front, right? So, and the reason why I chose a petite for her is because I don't want to go too full right now. If she had hair, she'd be better off with the fuller medium arch, like for me, because she's got so much space on her eyelid. But I want it to be realistic and easy for her to do. So that's why I've chosen the petite arch for her. Couple of things here. The white outline I'm showing you, that typically the lines right here on the stencil meets right where the lines you made. That's another reason why it's so important. Like, wow, that's where the lines go. Perfect, right? But in her case, again, there's nothing up in the front. If she goes all the way up in the front where she's technically supposed to, it's really going to look a little silly. It's going to be harder for her to fill them in. So I told her just line them up and then move it a little bit inside. So that way it looks more realistic for you right now, because again, without that hair up in the front, I mean, obviously, regardless, it's still gonna look like it's artificially done, but she's got something to go on, because keep in mind, she's got nothing, right? It's very bare. So anything would help her because it'll just frame her face, but just making it as natural as possible is even better. So you notice that the stencil has that dark strip right here. It's really important because you want it to lay straight across. On her, it's laying very curved because she's got a very curved forehead. And trust me, on that angle, it just looks like it's off, but it's not. Okay, so now I'm applying the color, the dual powder color. I'm going to use a very dark color on her. It's a very light ash brown color, perfect for her, even for me. Anyone with my hair color, you're served better with ash brown. But if you have my hair color with a lot of highlights, try a medium brown. It's a little bit warmer. So notice I'm obviously behind her head, so it's easy for me to lay the stencil. How do you hold it? Well, if you do it on yourself. Well, on this brow, on my right eyebrow, it might be on the left screen for you. I'm aligning it perfectly where it's supposed to be because remember, I have that tattoo. So I'm just lining it right here. Let me get close up. And then I'm just holding it over my forehead. I'm resting my hand on my head and my fingers are just laying straight across. Look at this. Really nice, right? I'm going to quickly do mine as you're looking at her eyebrows. Now, just quickly look at me because I'm just going in the middle. It's tempting to go up in the front because when you first apply, it's going to be really dark and then you can go up in the front. So you get rid of some of that color off the brush. So I'm just going right up here. I'm not going to really worry too much about the ends and that's it. So there you go. Voila. You could see eyebrow on me. I'm going, oh, because I sometimes forget, like, wait a minute, with all that concealer, can you actually see it? Yes. That white outline in the front, I'm just showing it to you again, how far it's supposed to go, but how further in I went. Now, it came out really good. Like, I didn't have to do that much. I just really held it, but I didn't press the stencil that hard against her. I just really, oh, I just got this hair caught in my spoolie. I just held it very, very steadily. But if you notice, my whole fingers were above that strip and laying it all like flush, like it's curved, but obviously my forehead isn't completely flat. There is a curve to it, so that's why my fingers are like holding it this way. So that way from front to end, it's really laying down flushed. Okay, so, and you see that middle area right here on her, there's that gap because the stencils have that little strip right in that middle, which you don't want to cut because that's holding the shape. So I'm going to go back to the color and just kind of fill in some of the holes like that middle one because I always need a clear picture before I go any further. So that's why I just froze this area. Now I'm freezing this area where I'm picking up the color. Now you can see clearly on the screen, there's that dark side and light side. Doesn't matter what you grab right now. But when I did the stencil, I actually just went back and forth like this with the brush so that I get a mid-tone. Right there is where I'm filling, and I'm just kind of going back and just edging out the edges. Well, applying the color right on the edge of the outside so it just gets a little bit more defined. And if you notice, even though she's got some hair right at that tip area, right, which is why the color's coming out a tiny bit darker. Anytime you put color over hair, it's always gonna be darker, obviously, than just on bare skin. So that's why I reapplied a little bit and just put a little bit on the bottom. Now, in the end, you can actually see a little bit of the tail there. I always like my tail to be a little bit darker. But see, so the mark is right here. I can actually stop it right there. The reason I want to stop it is because I like that kind of brow lift. As we mature, I'm 57, right? So things are going down. I want to go up. So, but I still need an end. So I'm just applying a little bit on the outside. You guys can see I'm going out here. I'm not dragging the brush this way. I'm going out here. Here's a tip. The end here should be straight across. If I could do this real quickly, at the tip of your ear. So if you hold it here, notice this, it's straight across. Pretty good, right? There's a tip for you. Okay, I might have touched this on in previous videos. So for those of you that have been with me for a while, thank you. New subscribers, that's the tip. Okay, so I'm going around with the highlighter. Usually you can do highlighter towards the end, but I also do it in the beginning. You guys know this by now, right? I'm going to use just a really bright highlighter so you guys can really see me coming across the screen. On her, it's a Pro Pencil. Pro Pencil, I often use it as a highlighter. It's an eyeshadow base. And on her, it's 1. She can also get away with 2. With the brush 18, it's a great brush because it's nice to go around and gets a very clean application. So I'm going to do this on myself right here. I'm always apprehensive because I'm like, okay, now you can see how bright and crazy, but you know what? You can really see the outline of the eyebrow more so, which is why I haven't done this one. Like, wow, right? More so. And just real quickly, you're probably thinking, well, how do you hold the stencil on the other side? As I'm smoothing it out with the brush. Now here, obviously, I can't. It's going to be in a different angle of my palm, but I'm still over my head. And this time the thumb is behind the strip. This is for you right-handed people. So if you're left-handed, do the opposite of what I'm telling you. So I'm holding the thumb behind the stencil and the rest of the fingers are bending it down so it's like it's curved. So I'm holding it, lining it up, and then I'm just hopefully I'm lining it up. And then I'm just going right over it again, right in the middle, and then up in the front. So this is how I suggest you apply the color. Okay, so there you go. Not so bad. I'm always afraid, like, oh, how am I going to look here? Because I'm trying to like focus on the model, trying to tell you guys, and trying to look somewhat even. Okay, at least not as crazy as it can look. And some of you guys know, well, you know, her brows can look a little crazy, right? Okay, so, and for the sake of balance, because I'm kind of weird about that, I'm going to just go right over here, so that way you guys can see. Okay, so obviously it's blended, and I'm just going to quickly go over here, so that way you guys don't have to look at me going, wow, she is really bright around the eyebrows. I'm using the Dip Brow Pomade in Pomade, guess it doesn't matter, Ash Brown, continuing the Ash Brown color for her. On me, I'm going to use Ebony. Again, continuing the darkness on me. Okay, so the Ebony Dip Brow Pomade can be drying. Okay, those of you that use this product, you're like, mine gets a little dry. Try to use like some sort of hydrating oil. Anastasia Beverly Hills has a beautiful hydrating oil. You use a tiny bit of drops inside the pod, leave it overnight or a couple of hours before, and then it'll just really loosen it up nicely. Make sure you use a different brush. Don't use the same angle brush. This is brush 14. I believe we have 14 or 12. And always use the pomades or wet types of creamy in its own brush. Don't mix that with powder. I've done that. Not good. Okay, so I realized that I did the same thing that I did on the video. I took out a little too much. That was a lot. Don't need this much. You probably could use even less than what I just pulled out. On the model, I use the cap. Obviously, I'm not going to use my hand just for sanitary reasons, but on yourself, use your hand, because the hand sometimes can even break up the product much easier, especially if it's a tiny bit drier. The cap will just really help me to smooth out the product. Now, you're going to notice on the cap, and I'll do it on myself real quickly, is that I go back and forth this way. When I say this way, I mean like the brush. I don't know if sorry if it's blurry, but notice it's laying this way, side by side, so the brush stays nice and sharp. Okay, so here I'm just going to go real quickly because I'm going to explain to you on my eyebrows how I do this. Okay, so the reason why sometimes I do it quickly is I show 2 different ways. And in her case, I just went quickly. I'll show you the way I do, or where you can do this. Sometimes you can do it quickly to just scratch to make these little quick lines. Now, this is that faux hair look, microblading look. It's obviously getting fancier. You don't have to do this. If you remember what it looked like before the hair strokes, you can probably leave it that way. I'm just getting fancier, but try this out. I mean, use some time to practice and see if you can do this. Because I have that tattoo underneath, I could pretend that, hey, I did put some powder on. I have that powder underneath. You can use that. I'm using it as a tattoo analogy, but you got that background, right? And all you have to do is just go over that, and it doesn't look as, if you just did the hair strokes on bare skin, it might get a little messy and it doesn't blend with the rest of the eyebrows. I'm trying to make it as easy as possible for her. I'm not going to tell her, do the hair strokes all over. So there's, the reason why I just do really quick again is just you can do these little quick strokes, right? But if on yourself, you can go very slowly using the longer part of that brush, and it's going the lower side. If it was the opposite, the longer brush is in the lower side, closer to your eyeball. And then you're just lightly going in an angle, very lightly. Okay, so I'm lightly, when meaning light pressure. So the lighter you press, the sharper the lines get. Okay, so keep that in mind. Again, keep that in mind. Okay, so right here, right up in the front, and then that guide, that lower guide, is where you land the longer part of the brush, and then going this way. I always go at an angle. I don't go like this because for me, I don't like that square front look. Okay, so, and you know what? It can get a little messy, and you might just be like, oh, it went too low. Look at this before and after. How beautiful is this? And I'm going to just do this other side. On her, I didn't do the other side. And you guys, for those of you that want to look at her before and after, get to that in just a second. Look at me and do the eyebrow. Look at me doing the eyebrow where I'm right-handed, but I'm doing my left eyebrow. So it's this way. Okay. And I use the brush 18 to kind of like, oh, let me just clear all that out. And the messiness, this is why it's like an eraser. Look, so the before and after, beautiful, right? Promise you, you have to take my word for it. I did do her other eyebrow, and she loved it, of course. And I did give her little tips and some video to show her how to do this. So beautiful, right? Love it. So there you go. I mean, the brows look so beautiful. Well, the faux brows, that is, right? So yes, I mean, some of you guys asked me, where do I come in to get my brows shaped? Or I will write, just keep in mind that I work at the Anastasia salon in Beverly Hills. You can Google that, but I think I'll try to put the phone number in the description box. I don't know if that will work, but I don't know how far YouTube will let me go. But also all the information as far as getting hold of me is on my Instagram, Jasmine's Arch, where you can DM me there as well. But, and definitely, again, like, subscribe, and give me a comment on what you guys thought about this, and if you're going to share this with someone that you know. So thank you so much, and I will see you guys right back here. Thank you.